Hello, I'm Alex Mansfield, the host of Manny Talks Shooting, and welcome to another episode. This is the shooting podcast where I talk to individuals all across the shooting industry. We'll talk competition, self-defense, concealed carry. If you like this content, check out our YouTube channel, Manny Talks Shooting. And without further ado, let's get to this episode. The title sponsor of Manny Talks Shooting is Go Fast Don't Suck. So if you need match banners for your match, check them out. They also have an awesome selection of pre-designed and customable jerseys. Don't forget, they are the home of the dry fire decals for your walls, so get those too. They've also got a plethora of patches and stickers that are hilarious and true. You know, Go Fast Don't Suck has a lot of things that you'll need on the range and off, so please check them out at gofastdon'tsuck.net. Welcome everybody, welcome back to another installment of Manny Talks Shooting, the shooting podcast in my side room that also lives my dog's stuff. You can't see it because I moved it, but it's okay. Welcome back to Manny Talks Shooting. I appreciate every one of you. Tonight's guest is a guy who likes to be haunted in a mansion that Steve Anderson says is the ghost love to bother him while he's there. It's Sam Callahan of Callahan Training. How you doing?
How you doing today, buddy? Yeah, my wife would love to hear that. We are a spooky household indeed, but more about shooting, that's for sure.
Right, exactly. And the best part, a few times I listen to Steve, and he always talks about going to see you, and it's like, yes, he's always got a horror story from the house.
It's funny, but you could cross that with Timmy. You could cross it with a couple other people, and there's been some funny instances up there, but that's another story.
Well, we'll probably dabble about the creepy house later, but for anyone, so Sam, for people who don't know you, who are you, and how did you get into shooting?
So my name is Sam Callahan. I have been into shooting since I was literally 3-4 years old. My grandfather was a hunter. He was also a woodsman, a woodworker, and a machinist. So he used to make kind of, we'll call it accuracy-based rifles for hunting and like biathlon type stuff. My whole family, my whole life has this unhealthy obsession with if you're going to do something, let's compete and see how good you are at it. So from a little kid, I was shooting 22s in my basement, 3-4 years old. I was 8 years old. I was shooting competitive sporting clays. By 12 years old, I was a state champion in New Jersey for sporting clays. And by like 14, 15, my younger sister started to beat me. And for some reason, my teenage attention on sporting clays turned off. And I went into rifles and pistols and kind of started my obsession with trying to be the best I could possibly be at rifles and pistols, and kind of led me down this path of, well, who is the best at rifles and pistols? And back in the day, I found Jerry McCulloch, and he was shooting 3-gun, and off I went. I went off to the races and trying to find the whole performance side of shooting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is pretty cool. Yeah, so you never were allowed to not be competitive. It seems like.
Yeah, it was a weird way we grew up. We were hunters, we were shotgunners. We didn't mean to be sporting clay people. We shot. I mean, in Jersey, there's only like a 3-month bird season, and it's freezing cold. It's December to February, so you're really not out there practicing. So we practice during the summer. We'd go do sporting clays. You go to Lehigh Valley, the place everybody knows out in the Pocono Mountains, in this one place. And it's this dinky little place, but me, my dad, my uncle, this little farm team would go beat up on each other. And what do you know? If you get good at shooting clays, pheasants are fat and slow. So I always had that attitude of, hey, if you can do the sport side of things, it makes the performance side of things really easy. And I was always obsessed with, like, I'll call it prepping. I like to kind of say it's my embarrassing start to shooting. I didn't mean to get into competitive shooting. I was like, what if the world ended? And what if there were zombies? If I could USPSA or 3-gun, I'll be fine. And that's the unhealthy competition attitude just rolled forward.
Right. So you mentioned the Lehigh Valley, right? So funny enough, is I was just in the Lehigh. I was in Allentown for work in December.
Yeah,
and I went onto the USPSA website and was like, I'm curious if there was matches going on around me, where would I be? And then I'm like, oh, Antolani's like 20 miles from here. This is crap. Like I'm here when there's no matches.
Yep. Yeah, you missed probably the best. I've traveled the country. I see a lot of awesome clubs. I'm not talking down on any other clubs. I'm talking up to how amazing Autolani is. You gotta make Autolani a trip if you're listening and you haven't been there and you're anywhere in the Lehigh Valley. But yeah, it's interesting. We have a lot of shooting up here that people kind of aren't aware of because we're near New York City and New Jersey, but it's still the Poconos, and we like guns out here.
Right. Well, and I will say, I don't know, who was I talking to? I think it was Dan Feltyberger. I was talking to him when he was on the podcast, and I'm like, New Jersey sucks. Like, the traffic sucks. All the people are dumb. Well, not all the people. All the people driving around me were dumb, and it's like, and
Yeah, New Jersey's a poisonous place, and I can say that because I was a New Jersey resident till March. I was 32 years in New Jersey. I was jumping the border here to teach and train and do stuff here, and
Hmm.
I got out. Dan lives up in old New Jersey, where New Jersey used to be.
Hmm.
He lives in the nice part of New Jersey still, so he's
Yeah.
probably not in a hurry to get out like I was. I got surrounded when I grew up. I grew up on farmland hunting birds, and New York City closed around me. So when I left, it was like running from poison. It was crazy. And yeah, you probably, if you flew in or drove through Jersey, nobody gets to fly or drive through the nice parts.
Yeah, no, I flew into Newark and then I drove all the way like the hour and a half to, Allentown,
Yeah.
Bethlehem area. So
Yeah.
that was an interesting city too, but
Yeah.
that's
Well,
kind of
next
cool.
time, fly to me. I'll pick you up. You don't have to go through Newark.
Yeah. Well, I think it was I only flew to Newark because it was direct flight from Detroit, like less than 2 hours there and back, like one way. I'm like, if I went to Philly, it was like the way back was like 7 hours because you had to like two connecting flights, and I'm like, no, I'll just
Yeah, it becomes a challenge for us gun people in the Northeast because Newark is the hub and it's got the most flights to everywhere, and you could get way cheaper tickets. But
Mhm.
it's almost impossible for you to like safely take your competition gear through Newark and not get stopped, bungled up, and especially magazines because it's New Jersey. So it was always a challenge. And like, yes, I grew up shooting in New Jersey. It's a garden state. I grew up hunting, but they kind of closed in around us. And jumping over to PA and now being able to fly out of the little airports around here, I went to IPSC Nationals. Just popping over to Allentown Airport, actually, just popped
Mhm.
on over to the Lehigh Valley Airport. I was showing them guns and like showing them what it was because they were like, "Ooh, that's so cool. Where are you going? What competition?" And I was like, "You guys are airport employees? Like this is I'm used to the Newark airport. That was normal to me. And now I'm flying out of gun friendly PA and they're just sending me off and like high-fiving me and like good luck on your competition. So it's nice to be out of Jersey, that's for sure.
Yeah, that is pretty baller. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool. But so yeah, you're finally free in the state of Pennsylvania, which is probably the smartest move you could make.
Yes. Oh yeah.
I did so for people watching this. I did listen to Sam started a podcast. We'll talk more about the podcast later, but he did have a good intro story. You started at an indoor gun range, right? So you started in machinery, went to the indoor gun range. Um, Overall, did you enjoy your time at the indoor gun range?
So when I started at the indoor place, it's one of the more popular places in New Jersey. There's basically two large companies in New Jersey that did it, and I worked for one of them. I ended up running their training company or the training portion of their company, and I was allowed to go uprange, and I was kind of allowed to have more fun than the average bear there. So I loved it because I understood how to use the range to its potential. Like it was still a concrete walled indoor range, but we built stages on those indoor ranges. I affiliated that range as a USPSA club in like 2017, and we ran matches there. So even though it wasn't indoor and it posed some of those problems of how do you train and what do you do, it was kind of an interesting challenge to try to get better with all those constraints around me. But the indoor ranges, as guns got more popular and as 2020 came around and everybody bought guns, I was really sick of getting loaded guns pointed at me, and I just kind of swore off the indoor ranges, especially in the tri-state area. I saw more loaded barrels than probably most police officers have, and I was just wearing a red vest and making like $17 an hour. So it was
Mhm.
good to bid them adieu. But that said, it's a necessary evil of the gun industry because that's where people filter in through, and that's where most of our young instructors and our young parts of the industry get their footing. So it's the indoor range it's a challenge, but it needs to be there. I'll say
Mhm.
that.
Right. Yeah. Especially when you need to filter people. Like that's the cool thing. Like this summer, with this sorry, this winter was the first time like our local an hour away from me indoor range that was capable of holding a match did.
Mhm.
So it's really cool to see people, and I wish those people who just shot at the indoor, like at the range, like because you'd only see these people like at that match.
Mhm.
You'd never see them out shooting somewhere else,
Mhm.
which means they're in the area. It's like, come on, let's go out to an
Yeah,
outdoor match where you can really run a gun without worrying about biffing it on this concrete.
yeah.
Like,
It's
I don't
slippery.
think
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think there's any form of shoes that will
No.
prevent any slippage.
Pro tip: unburnt powder makes it glass. I don't care what anybody says. You are now on ice. Unburnt powder downrange is the most slippery thing on this planet Earth, and you're not going to have shoes to work for it. But the cool thing is exactly what you said. When we were holding matches and going up range, I did it a little bit strategically where I would shut down half of the ranges that we had first to set up a stage. And then I would kind of purposely test the stage. And then all the clientele of the range would glue their faces to the glass and be like, what the hell are these guys doing? They're not only are they uprange, they're running around and there's orange fencing and there's a bunch of targets. And it got a lot of people kind of uh, realizing you could do more with guns. That's not, you don't have to go be a tough guy. You could approach it from the sport aspect. I could have more fun. I could reach, I could be with a community of these guys who are clearly having fun downrange. And it was fun, but it also kind of lent me the ability to teach and show the better side of guns to newbies because it was me there. It wasn't some random FUD that was kind of arms crossed trying to hand a pink 1911 to some lady, you know? It was a lot nicer to intercept the people coming in, pull them into training once they've got a gun and do all that. But as good as the indoor range was, they pay hourly. You're getting loaded guns pointed at you, and it's still an indoor range. So I had to kind of make my way outdoors, and it was probably the best thing I did was craft my way an outdoor range.
Right. So were you ever concerned about your lead levels working inside?
Oh yeah. I got them tested at some point, and they were twice the OSHA level. There's a World Health Organization level. I think it's 40, and OSHA's whatever OSHA was, I had doubled it. So I was like, okay, I need to actually start worrying about it. And I started being a lot more careful physically, but you can't beat it without a respirator. And this doesn't make a respirator work very well.
No.
This beard here is kind of was a problem. And not that I'm that vain, but I figured, hey, I got an outdoor range. And since this is all kind of coming to a head at once, because my lead levels rose, things kind of came to a head all at once. And I bid the range adieu. It was time. I had crafted myself a little place out in White House, New Jersey. It was on a farm that I used to run a fish and game association on. So I had this little place that I can kind of step outside and make do. You know, it was time to leave the indoor range.
Right. Yeah. And that's something I've been really big on is like if I go shoot the match at the indoor place, it's definitely, de-lead soap and de-wipe and don't eat any snacks. Like,
oh no. Yeah. I even I had a water bottle specifically for the range that the tip would go into itself when I was on the range. And then if I stepped out to drink, I wasn't even exposed to the air in the range. I would get home from the indoor range outside. It sounds crazy, but I go in my garage first, strip down, and that had to go into my laundry's in my garage. So everything would go in by itself to the laundry machine on cold with lead soap, because if you stood inside for 4 hours, you are a disaster. If you actually did lead levels, you're a disaster. Before I worked in shooting, I was a machinist, but I also ran a level 10,000 clean room. So I was very familiar with particle mitigation and all this kind of fancy, stupid words for saying this air is dirty. And I realized oh my God, I was walking home from the range feeling filthy. And I'm still very careful, but I'm glad I'm not inside because it's just a ticking time bomb for when your levels are going to go up. I know my buddy Evan will listen to me on this and be sitting there shaking his head because he's had to go through a lot of this stuff. He works for the Glock store down in Tennessee, and it's not it's not Glock store's fault. It's nobody's fault. If you're working inside, it's not.
Yeah, it's the nature of an indoor range. There's nothing it doesn't matter how much they spend millions of dollars in ventilation, it's still a problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's cool. So you made your way outside, and eventually, so did you go straight to Double Eagle, or did you hopping skip and then there?
So I had this funny little fishing game association that I used to run. It was for bird hunting. I grew up bird hunters. It literally was my grandfather and the guy who owns Quick Check. If you know Quick Check in New Jersey, there's a nice family that owns them, the Durlings. They were friends with my grandfather. I used to run a fishing game association on their land, and I asked the grandpa, hey, can I pop a range up over there? And nice enough, he let me borrow a little piece of the fishing game association. I rented myself a piece of cat equipment for the weekend, and that was a birthday present to myself. I bought about $600 worth of diesel, a buddy who could operate that equipment, and we made a range. And that's what ended up happening. We made this little range outside, and I ended up making another one on another part of the land. And by the time everything was said and done, I had a 25-yard pit and a 400-yard range in this weird little part of New Jersey that I can hold a lot more than I ever thought capable at. So I kind of didn't know what I had. I was I was improvising. I was 100% improvising. When somebody said they needed to host a class, I'd make it happen. If somebody wanted a lesson, I'd build something for it. And I kind of improvised my way into this little cool outdoor range, which is where I ended up hosting Kita for the first time in like 2018. And that started what I will call the professional instruction side of things, because it kind of showed me the way. It was like, oh, that's how you organize a class. That's how you teach for 2 days. So there's a way to make a living at this. I don't have to be this part-time NRA instructor that I thought I was going to be. I used to be a machinist, and I was just teaching on the side, and that kind of showed me the way.
Right, yeah, and with a little bit of land and a little bit of little bit of time, you definitely can tear up some dirt to make it happen. But
yeah.
Well, and I guess the cool part about that too is you learned, right, how to be able to manage a class for 2 days, and there's always going to be more time needed than you think, right? Because that's always the problem is people just start talking and then you just lose time, and it's like, oh, it's already 6 o'clock. I guess we should go home for the day.
I didn't cover half of what I wanted to. Yeah, and it was impressive to see how Kita managed class. I had a couple other people out to there, but it was in New Jersey, so if we were shooting on the line and there was 12 of us. Sounds a lot like machine gun fire, and that means all the cops are coming. So every class guaranteed the cops would roll in, and it never was a problem because after the second, third time, they were like, "All right, let's go say what's up to Sam." Somebody called the cops, right?
Right. Did you ever give them the non-emergency number and be like, "Hey, this is Sam. We're hosting a class this weekend."
100% would call them ahead of time, let them know things were happening, and they'd have to respond to reports of gunfire. Like it's just what they had to do, and especially if they thought it was automatic gunfire. So there was one person who didn't like what I did. So, of course, they would call because we're in New Jersey, and they're shooting machine guns, and I'm going to die, and I feel for my life. They knew the words to use. Cops would show up, give me a high five. We'd chat it up for 35, 40 minutes. They'd leave, but that happened every time. And it was frustrating, and obviously we're not doing anything wrong, but I don't want to be looked in upon every class I'm doing. It was difficult to stop and start, and we're competition shooters, so we're in New Jersey, 10-round mags. It became this contentious, like, well, I want to practice the way I would compete, but if I do, the cops are showing up. So it was hard to do what I did in New Jersey, and serendipitously so, the range in New Jersey went away in about a 24-hour heads up. I had the rug pulled out from under me. So this whole kind of like story that I've gone through with all the shooting has all been uncomfortable versus uncomfortable versus uncomfortable versus uncomfortable, and it just bounced my way through. But that Fish and Game Association, because it was New Jersey, the land got sold without me being told, and I just got told one day, "Hey, tomorrow we're closing down the range," and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's cool, like maintenance." Like, no, you don't understand. The range is closed. Like tomorrow, we signed the lease today. Tomorrow, the developers take over and they're knocking everything down. I'm like, well, my whole business is here. Like this is where I run my entire company. I had quit my machining job to work at an indoor range. I had quit the indoor range to now work at this outdoor place, and I had committed full time. And I'm now like, oh my God, like this is absolutely the worst thing that could ever happen to me. I basically risked it all, and it went wrong. And on top of that, I had Kita class, a second one scheduled. It was the next year, and I had another one scheduled. I had 12 students paid up. It was about a month and a half out. I had all their money in my pocket. I had Kita's flight booked and her stuff booked already. So there's a lot of money spent, and I don't have a range anymore. And so started the panic. And I found Double Eagle before it became Double Eagle, basically. And it was, again, serendipity and people like Kita and the current owner of Double Eagle, who are just like the most upstanding people I've ever met, who are just like willing to be good people, just to be good people, So I'm trying to find a new place to host Kita in a hurry here. And she's calling somebody, I'm calling somebody, we're calling somebody. Kita talks to this guy up in the Poconos that has this gun company that they want to buy a range. And what do you know? They just bought this 200-acre range. It's a mystery. They've never really used it before. Nobody really knows what it is. It was a private company that owned it. It wasn't set up to be a public range. Nobody really knew about it. It was a mystery. I was basically like the fifth or sixth person who was offered the ability to come up and check it out. Nobody took them up on it because of where it is. So I was the first person. Well, I had very little to lose. I had nothing to lose at the time and only anything to gain. But I was the only person who was willing to drive 2 hours into the middle of the woods and go meet some guy who nobody knew and literally be somewhere where there is nothing else out there. So I came driving out to Double Eagle. I meet this maniac in the coolest way who comes flying up to me in a 4x4 with tracks for wheels. And he's like, "Hey, what's up, you Sam? Yeah, come with me." And it was just kind of the start of Double Eagle. It was kind of, it's still like in my mind, it's almost like a TV show. It's crazy. It really is. And without that all happening, I wouldn't have a range to now be at full time. I wouldn't have a home range.
Right, that's crazy. It's all just like a big happenstance, right? It just
Yeah,
everything
man.
had bad scenarios becoming good, good situations, and it builds, and that's really cool, right? Is there's always a plan somewhere. Like you might not know the plan, but there's always a plan somewhere.
I'm very much a go with the flow, serendipity kind of guy. Only through learned experience in the last 5 years, man. It has been. Everybody wants to do what they want to do. I want to be a gun instructor. Wonderful. I want to be a professional shooter. Wonderful. There's no roadmap for us. Like, if you want to be a professional basketball player, too damn late. You have to start when you're a kid because there's a road. You know what I mean? Like, there's an avenue for most things out there. If you told the masses that, hey, tomorrow I want to be a professional shooter, first of all, most of them aren't going to know what that is. Like, they don't know what that actually means. And then second of all, even if they do, they're going to go, "Oh, who the hell are you and how are you going to get there?" There is no one way to do it. There's no proper way to do it. And I've gotten as lucky as I am stubborn, I will say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's and as you say that is like right. People don't understand what that means either, and I mean, a lot of people say they're pro shooters, but it's like, what are you making a living somewhat doing this? I mean, most people don't make like, there's only I could name probably 5 people who actually get paid to
By a
physically shoot
company.
who gets paid by a company to shoot, right?
That's
Most
different. Yeah.
right. You're more talking, you run a company, so you're teaching and instructing and demoing, and that's what you mean by professional shooter. But yes. But the nice thing about this sport is, for the most part, with enough dedication, money, and time, you can be as good as you want to be.
Yeah.
There's nothing. Yes, people have natural given talents of being athletic and that fast twitch eye muscles for shooting, but anyone can learn for the most part. I mean, within physical limitations. But yes.
It's funny because I had a student out today who is an older man. He's in his later 60s, and we had that exact conversation. That this is a weird sport. I use it as kind of a metaphor to like golf. You're gonna have a ceiling on your limitations. There's always gonna be a ceiling. If you have bad mobility, you're not gonna have a full backswing in golf. But you can play your whole life, and you can get a little bit better every day. And you can get a little bit better every day, and you can get a little bit faster, and you can get a little bit more accurate, and you can get a little bit strong, a little bit every day. That's why I kind of love the sport so much. I played varsity sports growing up, and I used to play lacrosse 4 seasons round, and I dirt biked. I skied, and I tried skiing this season the other day, and it felt like somebody loosened the bolts in my knees. I'm not skiing anymore. It's not happening. I'm not grabbing a dirt bike anymore. I'm not buying a new dirt bike. I'm not breaking any more bones. I've broken enough and dislocated enough. I'm not going and play men's league lacrosse and like tearing my ACL. But hey, I can come shoot, and I can come shoot every day, and I can get a little bit better every day. And there's guys out there that are in the same attitude. They're just trying to go out there, build a community, have fun. And I'm one of the lucky ones who get to do it for a job. It's really cool.
It definitely is, and like, there's so few that actually can actually make it turn their hobby into a career. Mm-hmm. It's nice to see people be able to do it because those are the ones who are really going to do their best, and they're passionate about it, right? Like,
it takes a lot. I mean, it's a lot of sacrifice. It's a lot of dedication, and I always joke with people. I'm covered in stupid tattoos, but I have a tattoo right here that says "No luck." I joke that I say lucky, but it's. There's a phrase that I picked up in the last couple of years that always strikes me, that it's basically that it's funny that the harder I work, the luckier I get. Mm-hmm. And the more I show up, the luckier I get. And if I keep showing up, I keep getting luck. So I kind of have that attitude where, is it luck or am I just the last one to quit? Mm-hmm. I think that's just the latter. I'm just like a stubborn jerk, and I don't want to be proven wrong. I've been telling my dad used to smack me in the back of the head because I was a machinist, as I mentioned. I worked in machining for a family company. It was my family's company. It was my dad's company, and we would go to a family meeting or a family dinner or something, and somebody would ask me what I did, and I wouldn't say machinist. I'd say professional shooter. And you're not a professional shooter. I pay you. I pay you to machine. You shoot on the side. It's a hobby. And that bothered me. That always bothered me because I wanted to be a professional shooter. I always wanted to do this for a living. I didn't want to be a machinist. Like, it was just my family. It's just what I did, and I wanted to do this. And I wanted to do this real bad. And when I started to see that there's guys out there that get good enough that they can teach others, and I'm like, wow, that'd be really cool. I'm not saying I need to be the best in the world. I I'd like to be good enough to be able to teach others how to get good, and it'd be really cool to be able to do what I do for fun, for a living.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of that, what did it feel? What was it like for you teaching? Someone actually, on your own, first time ever, right? Your first lesson you ever taught. Somebody was willing enough to give you, pay you for what you thought you were worth, right? Like that first, kind of like that first dollar in a business,
Yes.
right?
So it's funny because I remember it. I 100% remember it was. I remember that I had 2 lessons the first day. One was it was a high school buddy of mine who was going to be a police officer, and he can't qual. He just could not qual. The other guy was my primary care physician, who had picked up a gun because he started working in Philly and he ran into some bad situations. And I'll never forget how cool it was the day being able to go out and explain to these people who one is going to work with the gun for a living and one's going to carry a gun to potentially save his life, that I get to do what I like and affect their lives in a positive way. And that always kind of stuck out to me. It was really fun to be able to teach not just competition shooters, but anybody who wanted to get better with the firearm for a productive reason. Man, I get to learn all these cool lessons on the competition field. I get to go put a jersey on and go have fun. And then on Monday, when I show up to work, it's just relating my fun to these people. It was amazing. It was like, it made me more hungry because I saw the possibility now. I was like, oh, wow, I could do that. I like to talk. I enjoy the subject. I never had a problem presenting. Wow, I could actually do this instead of sitting in a machine shop staring at metal and turning handles all day long. I could actually stand out in the sunshine and enjoy my life. So it was interesting.
Right. So like working in a facility, it always bothers me. The fact is, it's really nice out today. Why do I have to be at work? Oh yeah, I have to pay my bills. That's why I can't be outside.
But always remember the last 2 months that I was shoveling my range. Always remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Always remember that.
Yeah, but that's because you want to have money during the winter. So you're like, well, I got to shovel the range out.
It's the shrimp fisherman effect. I tell my wife, it's like you're 6 months out of the year, I'm busier than I can help. And 6 months out of the year, I'm panicking. So It's the way it goes. But it's also, again, I don't have a boss that's matching a 401k. There's nothing like that. So it's a little crazy to have to work 100% to pay all your own bills off your back of all this. But then at the end of the day, I'm like, well, are my bills paid? They are. Did I get to shoot today for a living? Did. High five. All right. We're cool. Like, just keep it rolling, man. Keep it rolling. You're doing something right. Just keep it rolling forward. I tend to be very fiscally conservative is the fancy word for it, AKA cheap. So I don't tend to make like outlandish spending habits. Like I live well below my means. So I don't really tend to make any stupid decisions. And I just kind of figured if I can keep living below my means and keep plugging away, just keep giving yourself a high five, keep doing it. And I mean, I just bought a house off this, so it's kind of weird. This winter, I got my wife in a new car because we're expecting a kid in June. So it's like, I literally was, 6 years ago, I was in a machine shop teaching NRA classes, and I signed a check for my car, or for my wife's car the other week. It was just like, it's mind blowing to be able to say that, but it's also, I look back at all the work and all the times, all the weekends I give up, because when everybody else is off, I'm on. Right? When does everybody else have time off to train? Saturday, Sunday. When are you going to book with Sam? Saturday, Sunday. So there's a lot of weekends I give up. There's a lot of time I don't have. You guys don't see me at local matches anymore. That's why I'm hosting them or I'm teaching. I don't get to shoot local matches anymore. I just have to roll up to majors and hope my training holds up.
Right. Well, and that's always the problem, right? Like Tim Herron, I love Timmy to death, but he's always teaching. It's like, bro, like you show up at a major match and you still do well, but it's like, bro, you never get to practice. Well, now he's got his home freaking range at home is like freaking awesome. I'm like, I was a little funny because yesterday he posted that video of him picking up brass on his range, and I'm like,
yep, welcome, yep. But I mean, you're gonna watch somebody like Timmy now, who's already that good, who has a range at his disposal. You're gonna watch him take an area match now. You're gonna watch him take some nationals now because he's just, of all the dedication he puts into other people, now he's just got a range at his disposal. I'm pumped to see Timmy have his own range now. I like to see him hosting events. I love seeing that the shooters of the world are starting to also be the guys holding matches and teaching a lot. Like, there seemed to be a disconnect there for a little bit of like match directors aren't really the shooters. Now, it's not that you have to be like a GM to participate in the sport, but I find it hard to like listen to somebody who can't find success at even a low level in the sport, who's organizing the sport. So I like that now, Timmy, and I like that. Ben Berry's a great example. Guys, shooters who are jumping in and like starting to take stuff over. I'm like, hell yeah, because that's where the industry is going to start going the right place. We got shooters making calls. Hell yeah. Timmy having a range is, I hope, a trend. I hope Timmy doesn't have to travel much anymore and people can start coming to Timmy. I hope Ben can park. I hope Tom can park. I hope these guys can start having their home ranges and bringing it to them, because it's honestly, it's more fun like that as somebody who does it themselves, having a home base. And I think it'll be cool for the industry to start seeing like the Tim Herron range and the Tom Castro range and like the Steve Anderson range and all these places pop up. I think it'd be a very cool thing.
Yeah, it definitely makes their cost, the students' costs go up, but honestly, the high expensing costs of getting somewhere, being gone, it lowers it, makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
But so as you mentioned, I don't even know if you mentioned there's my sister calling, but denied. But I don't know if you mentioned during the show. I know you talked in the pre-show. You're a 3 division grandmaster. And I guess I forgot what year did you get into into competitive shooting?
So I just saw like a Facebook's memory of 10 years ago today or whatever it was. I started for sure when I was 20. Now I say that because I remember very clearly showing up to my first match as a 20-year-old with my mom, because they didn't own the pistol because I wasn't 21 yet. So I remember I started as a 20-year-old college student. Then I finished college. And then as soon as I graduated college, which was 2013, I kind of hit the ground running pretty hard. 2014 was my first competitive season. And then it branched off from there. Now, I say competitive season because I started in 3-gun. I would say 2016 is the first USPSA start. I was only – if you recall USPSA in – the later days, we were kind of the nerds, and we were the not fun guys, and the 3-gun guys were the cool guys who were having a good time. So when I got into it, I was a cool guy 3-gunner until 3-Gun Nation blew up, and I transitioned over to we'll call it the nerd sport that ended up taking over the world.
Right. So how long from the time you said like 2016 when you kind of got really into USPSA or competitive shooting, well, with a pistol, how long did it take you to become a grandmaster? I'm assuming in production first.
No, actually, I shot production pretty heavy, and then I jumped into carry optics in 2018. I was still playing with a machine job, so I machined a dot onto a Glock and started playing in 2018 and just never looked back. I started shooting carry optics when it was the provisional division. It was like carry 10 or whatever it started as.
Right.
It started as production optics, basically. I hit A class pretty quickly. I hit M class, I want to say 2020. And then I had this like wheel spin, and I had this plateau is the wrong word for it. I was in my own head. I couldn't get past the plateau. So it took me till literally 2022 to hit Grandmaster. And it was a long, annoying, and crazy fight to hit that first GM card. And then once I hit that first GM card, I had a like epiphany on how to train and like how all this worked. And I hit the other two in like 2 months preceding that. So it was kind of funny that like it was this almost 8-year battle to hit it, and then boom, boom. And now I'm on the cusp of hitting production. I'm at like, I think I need 10. I basically need one more good classifier, and I have a 4th GM. So it's crazy because hitting GM gives you this like, oh, that worked. And this sense of relief settles over you. But then I look back and I'm like, man, that took me a very long time. I never want to rush anybody's process because I respect how long it took me to hit GM.
So carry optics, PCC, and limited
optics as soon as it came out. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Now that was also like, it was pretty easy to hit limited optics GM right as it came out, because if you know how to game the classification system, when they first put the classifiers out there, the numbers are roundabout guesses, and generally they're under guessed. So if you remember when carry optics very first came out, there's a lot of guys who slammed Grandmaster. Same thing with limited optics. Limited optics was simpler, that I'll give it credit for. But that said, there's really no difference between limited optics and carry optics at the highest level. Shooting limited handgun nationals, when I was at handgun nationals, all the guys who did very well at handgun nationals were shooting their carry optics rig. It's a funny thing to see. It was like Trace Decker. I was sitting there talking. I was like, "Hey, that's a stock Sig, isn't it?" He's like, "Yeah, that's a stock Glock, isn't it?" I'm like, "Yeah." It's kind of funny, but limited optics is a pretty much a copy paste of carry optics in my division, in my opinion.
Right, and as much as the org would not like to sit here, I've heard so many arguments about not combining them, and it's like,
Oh no, they should.
we
Well, here's how I look at it. If we're going to be world competitors, carry optics should be 15 round. It should be the IPSC standards.
Mm-hmm.
Our carry optics should mimic carry optics in IPSC, and then limited optics should be exactly what it is. Fucking go for it, man. Have fun. Now, I'm very much not one of the purists as far as divisions in this world, because like, as much as I mentioned, like I love USPSA and all this stuff, but I got into this just through teaching others. And if there's more divisions and more ways for other people to get into it, I'm all for it. Now, I don't want to muddy the waters. So keeping it like carry 15 keeps it incredibly competitive, right? So I don't know. There's always everybody's got an opinion, and it's like that old adage, they all stink. So.
Well, yeah, right. So if you think about it, Mr. Matt Hempel, when he's when he shoots a match in Jersey and he reloads after 10 rounds, right? Like he still destroys, like, or he's in New York even too.
Yep.
He still destroys, right?
Yeah.
Like 10 rounds, or you got to stage play it a little
skill
differently.
Skill. Yeah, skill is skill, man. You can't. Mm-hmm. You're never going to take that away. And like I feel like it's mean too to have divisional restrictions on some states like that. But then it's funny when somebody like Matt Hempel comes and goes, "Oh, I don't care. I'm still going to win the match overall with 10 round mags."
Mm-hmm.
And it just doesn't.
Especially when all he does is go bird hunting. Bird hunting all the time. And he's like, I guess I'll go shoot a match.
He's a great example of what we were talking about before. There's some people who have natural skill that, like, guess what? You can try as hard as you want. You might not get there. Matt is blessed with some natural skill. Now, he also works his ass off. But, yeah, it's funny to see how naturally gifted that guy is. And then it is – I'm always excited to be around guys like Hempel, because we have quite a kind of pack of shooters up in the Northeast here. Mm-hmm. You can't be a club level champion here and not see a couple other big names that you're going to see on national level and at least regional level or area level competitions. Anywhere in Area 8, there's some shooters at every match, and it's awesome to be able to roll up and shoot against the Matt Hempel or shoot against some of these other GMs that are just kind of floating around here casually.
Yeah, like you've got your Chris Gelnets, you got the David Wamplers, the Kevin Grospies, Nick Reynolds. You like, dude, if I didn't mention you, don't feel offended. It's because you didn't come off at the top of the tongue.
Yeah, I'm bad. If you put me on the spot, I'll never remember the names. But it's crazy to me that you could show up to an Audalani match and just be like, damn, there is talent here. Mm-hmm. This is not some local match. And you're about to shoot 10 stages at this match against talent here. So Area 8 it was a good place for me to happen to grow up in, because, I mean, you can't slack off around here. You just can't.
Right, you really can't. And that's a good thing for, like, and this is like a problem, at least in my state, right? There'd be 4 GMs now, like in our whole state. Like that's it. And that's hard because it's all rural bump. It's all the population's so much lower than like in Area 8. It's like we have clubs that are fighting for the same 40 shooters.
Yep.
So maybe everyone will have a full match or not, but
yeah. Whereas it's gotten crazy up here where you can literally pick every weekend, twice a weekend, a match to go to, and everyone is going to be full. It is wild. It's to the point now where I saw Central Jersey Rifle Pistol Club. They didn't even get open to the public, and they were full.
Mm-hmm.
That's like a 100-person match. That's wild. That is crazy how popular it's gotten in the Northeast, how many people are out here. And then when you look at the depth of shooting, the Ada Grandmasters field is pretty deep. So you're not going to go and catch some easy divisional win and be able to flex on Instagram that you won a 22-person match. Not around here.
Right. Yeah. You got to work for it at that, mess up. And this is always a thing too, right? Like the match that's only got 3 or 4 stages, you have a mess, you're not going to come back from it, right? Mm-hmm. The nice thing is like those major matches that have, or even like 10 stage on Alani, you can have a bad stage and still be kind of in it, right?
Yeah.
Long as you...
It's not going to destroy your whole Sunday. Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, you might lose the match, but it's not by 10%. It might be only by 3% because you're able to recover.
Yeah, that's why I like... And part of why I started running my match the way I run my match is I run... Even if I only run 4 to 6 stages, I try to run area level stages for that kind of preparation reason. Like, I don't want anybody... I want you coming to my match and trying hard and failing, not having to go to sectionals and get caught off guard by that double swinger. I like the quality of matches around here for that, because you can't go and get lucky around here. You're not going to get a false sense of security. You're not going to go and get patted on the back, baby, good job, and then show up at Area 8 and get wide-eyed and scared. If you shot any match around the Area 8, basically any reasonable match that fills up, you're good. You're pretty prepared. You're getting there. I say Audalani is one of the best tests ever because it's a 10-stage local. If you can make it through Audalani, you'll make it through a major.
Absolutely right. Yeah, and that's the nicety of having a good, solid club that puts on good stages. It really makes you a prepared shooter. Like my original home club, people we only owned IPSC mini poppers, so there's no head on them.
Yep.
You shoot it. You got to shoot them in the center, especially if they're forward falling, or they will not go down.
Yeah. Everybody knows on my range, I have some mean little pieces of steel. Everybody knows at Audalani, if you're going to go there, they have some mean moving targets. They have the pendulum. They have some stuff that pisses people off every year, and it's a good thing, man. It's great. You're never going to be able to get lucky. It's never going to be one of those. There's never going to somebody who can show up and not practice and do well, because there's guys out there practicing. So I'm a big fan of that, and I like Audalani. I like Lipsa is the same way. They're building this like community of shooters. It's not just a match that you show up and you go home. It's this like actual community of guys who train together, who hang out together, who shoot together, who travel to these majors together. That's a big upside to the sport that I'm starting to see, is a lot of these guys who are going from local to area to national level matches together, like a squad of guys. It's no longer splintered. There's no just go to my local matches and then maybe I'll go to an area match once a year. People are starting to get out there and get involved because the community in especially the Northeast is like expanding pretty rapidly. I think I'm club MID 30, and I know 2 more have been added since I affiliated Double Eagle. So we have got a lot of clubs in our area in Mid-Atlantic.
Oh, is that what it is? So MID is Mid-Atlantic?
Yeah.
Okay, the Mid-Atlantic section.
So I'm pretty sure, yeah, I'm MID 30, and I know some have come and gone, so there's not exactly 30, but a lot, man.
The numbers don't reset if somebody bails. It's always it's that history thing. Here's the cool part, right? You can go back into the website and start typing in all those numbers prior to you and find out who they were, what clubs those were, so you can be like, oh, I didn't know this was a club. But
Bill Legacy Club, you'll find it was down the street from you, of course.
Yeah. Right, exactly. Yeah. So you're a match director, like you've mentioned. You set up your own matches at Double Eagle. Do you get volunteers to help set up, or are you doing it all yourself?
So I have people who would volunteer. I'm sure they would like to come out. I am a weird guy, and I do things a weird way. I have a match every week. It is weird as hell. It started as I had a bunch of students who wanted to match prep. They wanted to learn how to stage plan and run full stages without going on Sunday and getting their asses kicked, right? So on Wednesday, I had this group of guys out to my old Jersey range, and I'd set up a 32-round course of fire, and we'd shoot it from the right corner, and then the next start position would be from the left corner, and then the next start position would be somewhere else, and then I'd move some targets, and we'd end up shooting it a couple different ways. And that morphed and morphed and morphed into what it is now. And I go out on my Mondays are my days off. So I go out on Monday, and I start setting up stages. And by Tuesday, which is my Saturday, Sunday, when I'm done with my weekend, I have set up normally 4 stages, just kind of messing around out there. And Wednesday comes and I run a mini match where I have 8 guys who come out typically. It's somewhere around that. It's minimum of 6 up to 12. And we do basically a 1 squad match. We shoot a stage. It's all scored in time. There's ROs. Everything's the way it's normally at a local match, but you show up at 11 o'clock. We shoot till normally 1:30 and you're done. Boom. And you're out of there. So I have this weird kind of culture up here that I do it all myself because I chose to do it all myself. I set it all up Monday, Tuesday, because Wednesday I have these guys come out and shoot. I now do the match Wednesday and Friday every week. And then as the weekend rolls in, if I'm going to do a bigger match, I bolster up everything we did. I add a stage or 2 and boom, I got a full match. So again, you want to do what I do, you have to have full control of a club. You have to basically own 200 acres and have full control of everything that goes on in there. Otherwise, I'm in a very unique, weird situation.
Right. So, let me rephrase this. So, so you're kind of able to leave stuff up for the most part and then tinker around with it. And so it's not like you're doing you don't have to tear everything down. You might have to move walls. So I'm assuming all your props are relatively close to the bays, if not being.
I have a trailer. I have some storage and some trailers. So like if I'm going to set up a state. I rent the bays out to instructors. So oftentimes I'll rent bay 1 out to an instructor, and I'm just going to set up 2, 3, and 4. And then when he's done, I'll get to it. So I have everything kind of out and around, and I can set up most of what I want to set up. It's all there. But if I ever had to tear down in a hurry, because there's been some times where like, hey, we're done on Sunday night. Can you guys help me? And of course, the culture of around here, especially, there's at least 12 guys who you'll turn around and turn back and the stage will be gone. It's amazing. So the guys out here, they care, they help, they show up. I always have to give credit to like don't get me wrong. There's always the Tony who wants to go home early guy, okay, there's always that guy. But generally speaking, up here, people show up. People show up. They want to help. Audalani has a whole setup day where their match got so big that they do a Saturday setup where the guys who come and finish setting up, they shoot their own match. And then Sunday public shoots the match. That's how many volunteers they got. So it's a good culture out here. There's nobody scrapping.
Right. That is pretty cool. And at least, your system works for you. It's not like you're struggling to get help, you just do it kind of on your own way. And that's the nice thing is having control of the range. You don't have to worry about anything else, right?
It's funny because I could even feel the guilt of some shooters where they show up 30 minutes, 40 minutes early for a match and like, hey, can I help with anything? And I'm like, no, man, go sit down. Go have that bagel sandwich. I'm going to staple these targets up. Like, that's kind of what I do. I want to be able to – I do it – it's just the unique kind of how I do it. I want to do it all myself. I want you to show up, train, and go home and not worry about it. That said, these people are willing and able to come out and do whatever I need to do. If I do a work day on the range where I need to have a bunch of people out to help me clean, move tables, move trailers and everything, no problem. I'll have a dozen people out there moving stuff without even thinking about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is pretty cool. So we've talked a little bit, you've mentioned other instructors coming out to the range. What sparked the idea of, even bringing, like you said, you brought Keita out to Jersey for the first time, as the first instructor, right? What made you want to bring in outside instruction?
So jokingly, I'm selfish.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to take their classes. I can't afford to take 8 classes a year, but I get a spot if I host them. And I happen to have this fancy range behind me. So that was just kind of hey, I would like to take these classes. And then as I became like a full-time instructor, as I started to do it for a living, I realized that these guys are all subject matter experts in their own little tiny regards. And all of the shooters that I have come through generally need a different topic that they have to really concentrate on. We'll call it lowest hanging fruit, right? Everybody wants to be the best at everything, but you have a lowest hanging fruit. Well, now I get to say, hey, do you need to work on movement? Well, I have Keita coming, so you can come and do Keita's class. Or, hey, do you really need to work on your mental game? Because Steve Anderson's going to come out, and he's coming before nationals, right? So I started to then tailor these classes to be not for certain students, but for certain types of students, where if you needed a movement class, I have somebody. If you needed a mental class, I have somebody. And then on the back end of all that, well, these people are my coaches. That's the way I look at it. I've learned from them. I've taken their classes. So when I'm teaching to my people, it makes sense when I'm talking to them now, if they've taken a class from the guy I learned it from. If I'm talking about shot calling with somebody and they've learned it from Steve or Tim, it's a lot easier to make sense of it now. If I'm trying to discuss movement classes or a certain movement, today we were working on a hitch step in the stage. That guy had taken a class from Keita and he knew what a hitch step was. It was a lot easier to explain, So I actually encourage, if you have a weak spot in your game, there's probably a subject matter expert with a 2-day class that can attack that weak spot. And then I can go back to doing my job, which is I view myself as a personal trainer. I see people on a semi-regular basis and we work on it and work on it. We progress and we get a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better. But if you can go to a 2-day seminar and get a little bit better so that we can work faster, that's a good thing. And that's just kind of how it organically grew. Is I wanted to have these people out for myself. I love my students. I wanted to give them the opportunity to train with good people, and we have this wheel going now.
Mm-hmm. Well, and this, I'll say this too, is my selfishness is that's why I started this in the whole beginning. Like, I wanted to talk to good shooters, but I didn't feel like bothering them on Instagram DMs. And I'm like, well, I can just record what we talk about and slap it up on the internet and call it.
Everyone wins.
Right. Yeah. People get advertisement out of it. Yeah. I get a conversation, and I learn hopefully a thing or two of about whatever I want to talk about.
The funny thing about Callahan Training Group's inception, I wanted to write off ammo. That was it. I started this, and it became a real business in 2016, and I planned to basically report a loss every year and simply write off my training expenses. That was it. I was teaching my friends anyway. So I was like, all right, I'll do classes and I'll make it official. I'll do an NRA class or two a year, and I'll write off my ammo. And I'll write off my new gun that I bought this year. Spiraled, man. It's a good thing. It's cool.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of ammo, do you load your own or you just buy factory?
So I have been a slave to the factory ammo, bought in thousands for cheaper. Like that's been my thing, where I've been buying 5,000-6,000 rounds to get it down cost, but it's been like Blazer and it's been box ammo. And then I want to say last week I finally talked to John at Outdoor Dynamics, and I can happily say that I'm now one of their sponsored shooters, and I'm now shooting Outdoor Dynamics, the Andersons, the 125s, because that's generally I shoot a Glock 45, so I don't really like the big slow bullets. I don't like the 147s. But those 125s are, those are tasty.
Yeah, they're definitely tasty. We got the wife the other day set up. Well, not the other day. It's about a couple months ago now. He sent some sample packs of 125s and 147s for her, and I'm like, just kind of watching the gun recoil in her hands. I'm like, yeah, you need the 147s.
Yep. Yeah, I'm a weird guy. I like snappy ammo because I've been shooting. Well, first of all, when I started with dot shooting, I've been shooting Glocks the whole time, and I won't stop. That's a whole different story. I'm married to Glock. When I started shooting red dots, it was on a Glock 19. So I only knew how red dots returned via a 4.2-inch slide. So when I jumped up into my 34 and I slapped a dot on it, it felt long and sluggish to me. So I was shooting 115s to snap it back, and even that would make the recoil weird. So I found the best middle of the ground for me was 124 grains I shoot a Glock 45, which is a 19 barrel. It's a Glock 19 barrel. So it's 4.2 inch, 4.3 inch, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
So it's like 147s don't really matter for that gun because it's too small to matter. But 115s are a little bit snappy. And I found this quick dot return for a smaller slide is just my preference. I like it better. I like snappier guns. I don't like what I would consider a sluggish recoil.
Right. And when I shot Glocks, yeah, I was a 125 person. But the heavier and she's using this a Sig Legion.
Oh, so a little bit heavier. A lot.
Right, so it's a lot heavier, but it's the carry model, which has a threaded barrel on it, which is New Jersey no because they're lame.
Of course, if it's fun, you can't have it.
Yeah, you can't have it. But in the gun, it works for her.
Yeah.
Which with the 147s, it does help, right? She's learning to watch the dot.
I mentioned that when I shoot a dot and I shoot my 45, I actually prefer the 125s. Well, I've been chasing down production. And what do you know? I'm back to my 147s out of my 5.2-inch iron sight gun is way preferable because now I have iron sight, so I actually see a lot more. I'm not just staring at a floating dot jumping around. So the 147s work out of the Glock 34 for me way better. But I've ripped through 125s like it's my job because it's my fucking job. But it literally is. I'm ripping through them constantly. It's my favorite thing. I also shoot the same round through my PCC too, so I don't really change it up. I just shoot a 125 grain snappy round through everything.
Right, and it saves the hassle. You can just grab ammo and it runs in the gun. There is a lifesaver to that.
Yeah. Now, thank you for watching another episode of Manny Talks Shooting. I greatly appreciate it, and if you could do me a favor, please go patronize our sponsors here when you are available. We've got Hunters HD Gold, Go Fast Don't Suck, Outdoor Dynamics, Make Stuff Better, Range Panda, Southern Bobby Q, Laugh and Load, Summit City Bullets, 2 Alpha Apparel, and Tom Castro Shoot Academy. Now let's get back to this episode.
Now, you're the one of the few people until recently who enjoyed shooting Vortex optics on pistols, right? Like when I first started following you, I'm like, what is he doing with that Vortex? And obviously it still works and it hasn't blown up.
Yeah, it's funny. I was just dry firing and I still run a Venom. There it is. I've been running Vortex Venom was my first red dot on any of my pistols. So we'll say comfort wise, I liked it a lot. Now I didn't break it and I'm pretty mean to all my stuff. So I don't know if you've seen 3-Gun, but we literally are throwing guns and barrels and picking them back up. And I didn't tend to break it. So I didn't have a hardiness problem with it. If I went and grabbed my original Glock 19 slide from upstairs that has the original dot on it, you'd laugh. There's not paint left on any of the edges. The battery buttons are gone, but it all still works. It's zeros. The red dot works. It's from the dot was purchased in 2016 and it still is fine. So anecdotal, yes, but I have 9 Venoms sitting around that are all functional. I broke one of them because I was trying to pull the battery out with a screwdriver and I broke the contacts. My bad. my bad. I've broken a couple front lenses on a Razor 45 degree on a rifle because I fell and it ripped the whole mount off the side of the gun. So like when they break, and they should have broken. The thing that I have found is there's no frame to it. There's nothing in the way. So when I'm trying to say target focus around an optic, there's nothing there. It's as frameless as possible without anything being there. And I think that's why I started to like it the most. But as all these giant windows come out, I've come to like the big square windows. And now I'm switching over to the Defender STs because they're huge. So I don't care where the frame is. If I have a double the size of the window, I don't really care. And they're hardy as all hell. I've just seen them last and last. So I'm, as somebody I just form my opinions around the stuff I run and what I'm willing to spend my money on. And Vortex, I was spending my money on for 2 or 3 years before I reached out to them for any kind of partnership deal. And they've been good to me, but I don't think if they weren't good to me, I don't think I would pick another optic. This has just been what I've been running. This has just been like my preference as far as what I think looks nice to my eye. And you'll always catch me saying what looks nice to me because it's not Bible. It's just me. I'm a weird guy.
Well, everyone has personal preference, right? It's like ammo. It's like it's pouches. It's whatever. There's always personal preference. If it's color green, it's always going to be faster because it's green. Green means go. Other than red dots, because red dots should be red, not green. That's a hard fact. Red dots should be red, not green.
So it's funny because you could throw all the science you want that we see better with green with our eyes and all that kind of stuff, and that's fine. Give me a red dot. I'm with you.
Well, and I remember, I don't know what piece of literature or what technology or who I heard this from, but somebody asked Shane Coley why he runs a green fiber, and it's because he'll switch his fiber out depending on where he's at. So if he's in Arizona, it's red clay. Or it's really hot. It's gonna pop out at it's like you're not fighting your fiber. Yeah. So, and I'm like, that makes sense. 100% makes sense.
We're in the Northeast where when we're shooting, everything's green. So yeah. I guess maybe that's why. It's just again personal preference, and I'm also not the guy to ask about personal preference because I shoot a Glock for a living. So
well, you do, and you at least had decency to put a Timney trigger in it. Like, I mean, I had to destroy. I wouldn't say destroy. I had to modify mine
really
to make it super. Really well, I said screw the polishing, and I decided just to cut the slide stop off. I was like, hey, the gun works for 100% reliably now, so.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like that's kind of why I like Glocks too. Is as much as I'm a gamer and as much as I do all this for a living, I teach a lot of people, and the people who I feel like beholden to are the SWAT guys I teach. And I teach 3 different SWAT agencies out of New Jersey. I teach some SWAT guys in PA now. There's a couple other higher end agencies that I play with that I get to go down to like places like Virginia and places where I'm not supposed to be. And those guys shoot Glocks. They all shoot Glocks. Whether I like to or not, that's what they shoot. So if I showed up with a brass gripped 2011, they don't want to listen to me. They don't care about me. So I'm shooting a Glock for a different reason than a lot of people are shooting Glock, is because I'm essentially like trying to prove that this duty weapon is good enough to do anything with. And I think I've done a good job at showing that's possible. And as much as competitors are awesome, there's only 14,000 of us in the world. Or in America, that is.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Not a very good business model. So I tend to teach everybody, and I teach more non-competitors than competitors, and the non-competitors, they don't want to see brass handled tuned guns. They don't care. So I have a weird way of looking at things. I have a weird opinion. I also do a lot of combatives and a lot of fighting with the guys out of Sayak Kali and Atienza Kali, and our opinions are a little bit different when it comes to things working every time and being. So I'm weird. I'm a weird guy. It's that kind of stuff. My gear preferences are my preferences.
Right, yeah. And like I said, everyone's going to have a preference because, everyone's different, right? My mission drives the gear, right?
That's it. I'm big on why. Why? If you can tell me why, I don't care. That's it. But if you tell me because this guy, blah, 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 now I'm going to argue with you. But if you could just tell me, because it's my preference, or because this, that, and the other thing, I don't even care about the sentence. If you have a because, it's your gun, it's your game.
A meaningful because I saw this on Jerry's gun one, that has no weight.
I might then try to jump in and steer you in a better direction.
Right.
Yeah, we all have whys. If you have a why, good for you, man.
Right. Why do you load your shotgun like that? Because Jerry uses those stick loaders, and it works really well for Jerry. I'm like, he's the only person I know who does the weird stick load
Still,
thing.
like it's almost he's. I feel like he's almost stubbornly giving the finger to everybody because he's like, "You guys shoot your all your fancy AK shotguns. You guys go ahead." And he's jamming sticks in and beating people still in his 80s. So
Yeah. Well, the one cool fact about myself, and I say this, is Jerry Mitchell and I share a birth date. So,
oh hell
like,
yeah, you've got
so
greatness in the blood.
right. I just have that magical sprinkleness. It's like,
That's
yay.
great. I you know what? I always remember this. Me and Jackie Chan share a birthday. So.
There you go. See, you always got to look up those celebrities for birthdays because you know. But
that's great though because I always loved watching Jerry. He was always like he's our Michael Jordan. That's what I tell people. It's like he's still around. Like Michael Jordan's still around, but he's like the tales of old of that's how good you can get. And I always loved Jerry because I showed up a shit kicking 21-year-old and I couldn't beat anyone like Jerry. There was guys who looked like my grandpa that I was showing up with my chest puffed up and I'm going to come beat this guy and then I'm walking home with my tail between my legs. Like, oh my God. So Jerry was one of those, the coolest example of, hey, just hard work and be humble and you'll get there.
Yeah, the good old Southern hospitality, that Louisiana boy,
Yeah, he's a cool guy. He was cool. I shot next to him during a 3-gun national, so I talked to him a bunch. I actually I said caddied for him because he did the shoot offs at the end of it, and I was setting up his guns and doing his guns because I was just bullshitting with him the whole time. Nicest guy ever, like coolest guy, nicest guy ever, and he doesn't like talk guns unless you ask him guns. He's just like a friendly, happy, nice guy. It's so fun.
Just think about it. He's like most people's old grandpa who you're just happy that he's still around, right?
That man has forgotten more about guns than I currently know. That is a big thing that guy has been around in the coolest way. And now what's cool, his daughter is one of the best examples of taking like years of information and being able to distill it into a really, really good teacher. She has taken everything that Jerry has done and been able to like present this very nice package of it. And it's cool. It's cool to see like a legacy like that because we're a weird industry. Like I don't know anybody that, I mean, unless I'm missing anybody, I don't know any of like parent legacy like that in our sport. And I hope that's a commonplace. As somebody who grew up a junior shooter, and I love teaching juniors, I mean, our sport grows because people bring their kids. So I hope that Jerry Michaluk, Lena Michaluk attitude and this whole John Wick and video game and airsoft crossover actually does bring more kids in. I don't want to sour them.
Yeah, we definitely need the younger generation to come in and take over, especially running all those timers and stuff. Like, here, learn to run around and follow me, okay?
Please learn to tape. Yeah, please learn to reset. Yep. Teach the kids to reset. I mean, it's scary though. I love teaching kids. That's one of my favorite things. That I teach a parent for a couple of months, and they're like, "Hey, can you teach my kid?" Absolutely. Please bring them out here because if a parent's, I always have some more tests and some more questions. But if a parent's willing to say, "Yeah, my kid's ready to shoot," generally speaking, they're not going to put a loaded gun in their kid's hand if they're not comfortable with it. So when I get those kids out, I love asking them, "Hey man, you play a video game?" And they're very willing to tell you about Fortnite or whatever they play. If you can just start to relate the shooting physically to how they use a video game controller, these kids are lights out. It's amazing. I had some 7-year-old running plate racks the other day with a 9mm. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's crazy how I couldn't imagine doing that at my age because I had nothing to relate it to. But now, if I played Halo from a little kid onward, man, I might be good with the red dot. These kids are moldable. They're real good. It's very cool to see. It really is.
Oh, 100% is super cool. Like, well, I'm a little sad because most of these youngsters don't understand the cool thing about LAN parties and Halo, but they don't understand the power without the internet.
The good old days, man. Yeah. The good old days. Yep.
Or your parents were cussing you out like, "Why did I agree to this shit? Like, why are all your friends here?"
A room full of nerds. It's a bunch of blankets and wires everywhere. Oh, the best of days. The best of days. But like, we had GoldenEye and all that stuff growing up, and I'm like, I think there's a reason that Red Dot's caught on with. I'm 32, and Red Dot's caught on with like I'm like the cat where like when they came out, I was excited about them, and nobody older than me was excited. So I'm like, oh, okay. There's something about that, like video game crossover. I played competitive paintball growing up. Like, there's that crossover between all this stuff, and I just found this niche that I kind of wandered down this hallway of USPSA. I was like, oh, this is nice. This is perfect. There's all the things I like. But I mean, we need to get more kids into this. We need to get more parents into this. We need to get more families into it. And I think that would be a big, addition to the sport. It's not just a bunch of weekend warrior dads that come out and spend all their money. If it was a a family event, it'd be a bigger deal. Nationals might be a little bit of a bigger event if it was normal to bring your wife and kids on like a camping trip. Because that's what Sporting Clays does. Sporting Clays, who actually also does it at the Cardinal Center, they'll have a week-long nationals, and there'll be a vendor row, and some of those vendors do 30% of their sales at nationals because that's how popular nationals is. People wait till nationals to go get fitted for a gun, to go meet all these vendors, and they bring their family. It's a big thing. I would love if we started to see USPSA, or at least we'll call the performance side of shooting, mimic how Sporting Clays is.
Right. Well, if you think, well, the Cardinal Center is freaking fantastic because, if you, depending on which way you drive in, you either see nothing of shotgun or you see all of shotgun. Well, most of shotgun. Yes. You see the whole you can see some of the camping. People don't realize the camping goes farther into the woods than it does.
A lot of sites back.
But yeah, like right there at the firing lines, Beretta's got a permanent booth. Somebody else has got a permanent, like in this building shack, and they just pull their trailer in.
That's where I was sleeping at Cesar Guarini. My sister shoots for Cesar Guarini, so she's like, "Hey, go ahead, poor boy. You go and take your USPSA peasants, and you can go sleep at my booth." And I was like, "Damn, we're really like not even close to what they do." So that's why I have a funny look into it. My sister shoots professionally, professional Sporting Clays. She's one of the 10 ladies that shoot nationally. She is one of Cesar Guarini's like salaried people. Mm-hmm. She like makes fun of how we run our events, and when my dad comes to my events, because he RVs her around and sees all that stuff, he's like, come on, guys, you guys can't even, you're putting a circus tent up, you're not even gonna have a banquet. I'm like, all right, whatever, man, you shut up. All right. So yeah. I hope we go that way, but also Sporting Clays has been around for a lot longer and had a lot more support for a lot longer. So hey, we take notes and we keep watching that. Cardinal Center isn't just for Sporting Clays. We could be the same thing. There's no reason not to.
Yeah, and it definitely can expand and grow and be what we really want it to be. Yeah. But the benefit is, most people would, if they live in the area, bring your camper down, park it there. And stay there. I know a lot of people.
Yeah,
there's and then lot. Guess the worst thing is you go rent a golf cart, and then you just have to put your golf cart on the back, all your gun shit on the back of it, and just drive into the bays.
I always it's fun going to because so it's funny. My dad has made it a habit to travel around with my sister so that when he's available and when I'm going to events, he's like, "Hey, I'll pull the RV. Can we go over there?" Having a golf cart is like the best thing ever for these events. And I used to be the only guy driving around a golf cart in 2014 because that's what he did for Sporting Clays. And now it's just like a commonplace. I'm really hoping that we start to act the part. That's kind of the big thing is we need to start acting like a more serious sport. And part of that is acting like it's a real thing and not a stupid hobby that we're ashamed to do. Like, hey, come out, rent a spot for a week, bring your family out. You don't have to hide from your kids, come out to a place and all out there. I mean, they had campsites, they had all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of stuff around there. Most of the places we're shooting, like Talladega, there's racing around there. There's, depending on what your family likes to do, there's a lot of stuff to go do around the shooting places. So I hope we end up taking it a little bit more seriously. That's all. We got to act like we want it to be a national sport, not that we want to hide it.
Right. Exactly. 100% agree on that. But so Sam, when people want to come and train with you, right? Is it? I'm assuming you still host a 1 or a 2 day class plus privates, right?
Yeah, so I'm actually mostly a private personal trainer, however you would like to classify it. I do most of my booking through my website. I do private training on people's schedules. Mm-hmm. Generally speaking, I have a horde of people that I work with regularly, so I know what they want to work on. And then I have probably 20-30% of other people who are new bookers who are just book with me because they want to work on a certain set of skills. Mm-hmm. Hey, I just got this gun and I want to learn to carry it more confidently. Or, hey, I just got into USPSA and I'd like to do a 3-hour lesson just based on that.
All right. And that's probably a very good thing for them too, because then they can get tuned up before they go to a match, and then they're not as scared to go to their first match. I'd say.
So I try to do privates for exactly that. I don't want you to have to come out and be around 12 guys if you've never shot before. I don't want you to have to come out to a 2-day class and dedicate all this. If you've never been there, get there. I want to get you there. That's my mission, is to get people there. But come out and get a 3-hour lesson and go home and go, all right, this is what I'm good at. This is what I should dry fire. And then I also keep it accessible on my schedule, and I keep it affordable enough that people can come back. I don't want it to be I paid this guy, that was impossible to do and I can never afford to do it again. I consider myself a personal trainer because I want you to revisit. I want you to be able to come out weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, whatever your schedule allows. And that's why my weekly matches are too very affordable and weekly. You can come out once a week, once a month, every other week, and not kill the bank. You can do a 3-hour lesson. You don't have to disappear in a Sunday for 15 hours. It's a nicer way to do things from what I found. But I also offer the 2-day classes, the 1-day classes. I kind of give an option for everybody.
Gotcha. That is pretty awesome. I know before I've got a couple more things that I want to talk about, but I need to help you out a little bit. I guess and pay my own bills. I guess and the fact is you started doing a podcast yourself. So,
yes.
Which I found out literally after I had I hit you up and like, hey, let's do a podcast. I know of Sam. I know that you bring in some instructors I've trained with. So it's like, all right, Sam's a good dude. He knows what he's talking about on the training side. So, and then I know you have a podcast, and it's kind of fresh still, so people probably don't know about it yet. So
yeah, I'm just basically bolstering up that whole YouTube side of things. Callahan Training Group Podcast is all I've called it. We're pretty uncreative, pretty straightforward. But my YouTube channel is just Samuel Callahan too. But it's going to just have all my content up there that I want to have kind of live in perpetuity. Things like I've been talking about how I grip the gun and foundational things with your body. I'm going to have some videos up there, but really the podcast is going to be sub 1 hour, just discussions on whatever I think is relevant. That's not inflammatory. I'm not going to get on. I don't want to argue. I don't want to get on and do any hot topics, but it's fun stuff. I'm really just wanting to reach out and get more people on the fun side of training. That's all.
Right, and and it's actually it's nice. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Short Course a little bit. Short, sweet, to the point. Well, I mean, the first, the second episode that I've started to listen to is a little bit longer, but it's about gear, right? Like,
yeah, of course. Yeah,
so well, there's always nuances, like we talked, personal preference, so and all that stuff. So there's always going to be answers and reasons for that too. So.
I ended up going through a PCC too, and I think even a 5.56 rifle. So it's like I probably should have just done a pistol from that one.
Hey, you could have had two more episodes. You could have had 2 more episodes out of that. You know that, right?
Now you're thinking like a podcaster,
right? Yeah, always content. I'm very thankful. I'll tell this quick story, but I'm always thankful. The humble marksman David Blanton, a master open. I think he's a master open and carry optic shooter, told me I sucked at YouTube. And I'm like, yes, I do. That's why I don't do YouTube. Well, I kind of do. I do the podcast. I post it on YouTube. I call that YouTube.
Yeah.
But I don't do the edited content talking head videos anymore because I was not good at editing them. I was not good about talking to the camera, making it feel organic. But this is organic, so I'm good at this. Yeah. And I thank him because that's why I don't do YouTube.
It's funny because I struggle with that effect of like, my passion is teaching and talking and doing all this. My passion is not acting. And I don't feel passionate when I'm looking at a camera. And so I have to act passionate. And then oftentimes I don't like that take and I'm doing it a third time. And then I'm spiking a camera through the wall because that's not what I want to do. I want to talk to people. I want to shoot with people. I like to conversate about things like this. I don't want to talking head things. And yeah, I was talking to Ben Stoker about it. I was like, dude, you are crushing the YouTube game. And he's like, yeah, man, content, you got to do it. And I'm bad at it. I'm bad at it and I need to be better at it. That's for sure. But I kind of mentioned it earlier. It's the way the season works. I will be pretty free when it snows out in the Poconos, right? Not a lot of people want to come shoot USPSA in shin deep snow. But from pretty much now, from March through December, oh man, I am running the range. Because I manage the range. We also have a house on premises that we rent out for these instructors and all the students that come up. So I'm managing basically an Airbnb and I'm running Callahan Training Group. So YouTube falls to the side and I'm okay with that.
Right. Yeah. And if you think about it, it's one less thing to really worry about too. It's just like it can cook in the background, let it do its thing. It doesn't go. It doesn't go away.
Videos, there's stuff on it. I'll throw stuff up as it gets good, but it's been a struggle of mine actually to manage the media side of things for sure. I'm very bad at getting content while I'm teaching because I'm teaching. I don't want to pull my camera out and like ruin moments. My sister is a photographer, so whenever I get lucky enough to get her to come and have pity on me and come take pictures and videos, I get that. But it's nobody wants to drive 2 hours into the middle of the Poconos to come shoot for 2 hours. So I end up void of a lot of this content other than head cams from matches and things like that. But it's the world. It's okay.
Yeah, well, that's another reason why I set up a sky cam in the sky to shoot my match video because it's like, one, I've had enough thumbs over camera lenses to be like, no. Well, I took it from Chris Gelnett, right? Throw the sky cam up, you get the whole stage, you can see everything.
360 is the way. You're doing it the right way. That 360 cam, put it right in the center of the stage and or somewhere you can see everything and just follow yourself. That's the best one. That's the best way.
It might not be and some of it might not be sexy for like Instagram or YouTube gun, but it's the analytics of like being able to look at your shooting and be like, where was my
And now something it's funny because I was talking to Rob Epifania about some of this content stuff, and something he made a comment on is like, yeah, go look at the analytical, go look at your analytics, go look at everything. No one cares about match video.
Mm-hmm.
They care about instructional, they care about details and data and stuff, but we do. You and me care about match video. Mm-hmm. There's a couple of guys, some master and A-class guys that care about, but the rest of the people you're trying to attract, nobody cares. Nobody really cares. And then even if you're in the sport, you don't want to watch anybody that's couldn't beat you, right? Like you're not watching the head cam of somebody who's not better than you. So it's like very limited people are actually watching our stage runs. So I've had to make it this, because I love posting stages and I love posting that because it's what I love. I want to post what I love, but I tend to now clip out chunks and just be like, hey, check out this. This is a reload. This is how I reload. You know, it's not fun. It's not sexy. It feels so unorganic, and I don't like it, but it's part of this weird world we're in right now. Social media has also made it hard for us to be in front of each other, so I have to post twice a day. So.
Yeah, and that's the struggle too, is being able to fly enough under the radar to not get hurt, or you beat through the algorithms by overloading the system with posts.
Yeah, God forbid I say gun in an Instagram post, because you could say gun in YouTube. But you can't say gun on Twitter. You can't say gun. So it's like, God forbid you say the wrong word. Your account's now not visible for 7 days, and you don't even know it.
Yep.
So it's its own struggle. It's its own thing. It's very unsexy. It's very unfun part of all this, but it is part of being the whole professional shooting instructor thing. You could be a great teacher, but if nobody knows where to find you, nobody knows where to find you. Right?
Exactly.
If nobody knows you're out there, if nobody knows you're going to matches and doing this, it's just nobody cares. So it's a delicate balance for sure. Because I also don't want to be a content creator. I'm an instructor. I'm a shooter. I'm a grandmaster. That's what I do. I just happen to post the stuff that I do.
Right. Exactly. Absolutely. 100% agree with that. Do what you like and not be forced to do what you don't want to. Yeah. And there's always that. But so Sam, this is the part where I'd like to pay back towards your people who help you out. Right. So this is where you get to talk about your your partners, your sponsors that you deal with to show the love that the sport they give you.
I appreciate that, because that's a big thing, that all my partners are people that I bought out of my pocket for a long time before I approached them. I mentioned my home range, Double Eagle, up in the Poconos here. I shoot Vortex optics. I've been shooting them for, a very long time. My rifle of choice behind me, Modern Material, they're out of Keyport, New Jersey. I'm a Jersey boy. They're good people. My holster, Ghost USA. I've been running them since 2009, 2010. You'll start to notice a trend here. I'm not a pickup new company kind of guy. Now, Outdoor Dynamics is a new sponsor to me, but I've shot their stuff for 2 seasons now. Great ammo. I'm not going to stop shooting their stuff. Timney triggers, as we mentioned. Let's see. I'll feel like a jerk if I leave somebody out here. Dry Fire King and Dry Fire Mag. I mentioned those guys together because Dry Fire King, the video series that everybody's running, if you're not shooting that, you should be. If you shoot a striker fire gun, Dry Fire Mag will reset your trigger so you could actually get better quality out of what you're doing. And then if you want to get any pomade, I shoot actually for a pomade company out of Reg's Pomade, beard oil, hair company, stuff like that. All my other companies are pretty local to around here. So like my gun shop is over in East Stroudsburg here, Hidden Valley Tactical. I work with, Impact Machine is my gunsmith down in Louisiana. I don't know if anybody's ever tried to mill guns nowadays, and it takes 8 weeks and the machining's kind of crap. Scott is the best guy I've ever met in this industry as far as machining all these dots on and everything goes. So I appreciate all these people, because they're the people who I would buy. I'd use them anyway. I don't care if they said no to my sponsorship. I'd pay to use their products anyway.
Mm-hmm. Right, and that's the organicness you need, and the good-hearted Americans we are. Help the people who help us. Right, pay. Vote with your dollar. Essentially, is how it comes out to be.
I love that term.
Which are you still? Did you mention Targets USA or?
No, thank you for jumping in there, because Targets USA and Make Ready Nutrition are two of the other people that actually are big parts of what I do. Target USA is big in supplying all this paper and all my steel and anything you see on the range. Now, I mentioned it earlier, all my swingers, everything that I torture people with. Thank you, Jason. You make the coolest props out there. They're some of the best stuff I've ever played with. It's all good stuff.
Yeah, Jason's good people, and he likes building crazy things. I really can't wait to see that new dual swing. The butterfly or the gear.
Butterfly? Hell yeah. So yeah. I'm an old machinist, so I love that stuff, and he thinks in that brain, and man, his stuff is perfect.
Yeah, and it's in Alaska. I still don't believe how he can still do it from Alaska.
People when I recommend people to buy stuff, they're like, what did you just say? He's shipping steel from Alaska. I'm like, just trust the man. Just trust the man. I love people like him. Captain, I'm just like me. Captain your own ship. Just do it. Do it your way. Don't let anybody tell you no. Jason embodies that. Big fan.
Mm-hmm.
And him working with PCSL is cool to see too, because it's a good partnership.
Yep. Gets to cut out funky shapes of steel on out of metal, so it's kind of cool. So
I'm a big fan of metal work. It's used to be what I did, but yeah, it's funny because they're all I call them sponsors. Everybody thinks them as sponsors and sponsor shooters, but it's for me, it's a partnership. It's a community thing. If you don't support the sport, I will buy your stuff, but I don't consider you a sponsor. All these people support all of us and what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I say, even on the screen, I always say support the podcast partners because I don't find them as like a sponsorship. It's like you said, everyone's a partner. They're all good people, and I can't thank them enough for what they do for myself.
I cringe at the word sponsor. All my emails to all these people, it's always the word partnership. It's partnership. That's what it is. I'm not looking for anything free. I want to be able to have reciprocal relationship.
Can't say it any better than myself than that, just right there. So, but Sam, if people want to get a hold of you, they want to do some training, or they just want to talk to you about shooting or whatever, what's the best way for people to reach you?
Easy, CallahanTrainingGroup.com. I am Slam Pat on Instagram. Couldn't be any easier than that. I'm easy to reach. If I'm not answering you, I'm in the Poconos and I don't have any service.
It's usually how it goes, right? But that's awesome. No, Sam, brother, thank you for coming on, and appreciate taking the time out of your night to sit down and chit chat with me and talk about shooting and everything that's kind of going on with you and your neck of the woods.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me on. I appreciate your time, and obviously, as I was just mentioning, I appreciate people who support the sport, and thank you for getting the word out, getting people on, and doing what you do, man.
No problem, and I appreciate it. And so thank you again, Sam. But listeners, get out and do the things. I'm going to see you on the next one.